Let's get to it, y'all. Today we're talking about how to work smarter, not harder. Are you busy or are you productive? I'm going to give you 6 of my best tips to help you just start working in a much more effective way so you can get more done in less time and get those things done that you need to get done, all right? Cheers and good morning, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning. I appreciate you. Number 1 that I'm going to give you this morning is to get out of the noise. Get out of the noise. What I want to talk about with this one is, like how many of y'all got noise and distractions in your life? Anybody? Like how many of y'all work from home? You got kids, you got pets, you got a mom that calls all the time. You're working a job, you're building your side hustle on the side. You got dings and rings going on all over the place. You got distractions. Put a me in the chat room if you got distractions in your life. Distractions are rampant, right? We have all these things that are constantly coming after us in our attention. We only have a certain number of hours in the day to get the things done that we need to get done. And so if you're like me, you're doing your very best to pack your day full as possible in the right way as possible, try to get as much done as possible. So in the day in the life of you probably looks something like you get up in the morning at whatever time your alarm goes off. You hit your breakfast, you do your morning routine, you do your work, you spend some time with the Lord. Then you get about you take your kids to school or whatever, you get about your morning stuff. But then when you actually have time to work, you start on a project, you work for an hour, but then you have a call here for an hour. After that, you have a break, and then you want to work on this email or work on that, that podcast content, and then you have lunch, and then you have another call in the afternoon, and then all these different things stack up, and at some point you gotta go pick the kids back up, or then husband's coming home or wife's coming home, and it's just this whole day of all these things. And so what ends up happening is I think every one of us are able to identify the fact that we have priorities that we have to accomplish, right? Like how many of y'all have priorities? You have some stuff that you've got to get done. You have some projects that you're working on, but you're trying to navigate and work on those projects amidst the noise of your world. So what I'm going to challenge you with this one is to be intentional about removing yourself from your noise and giving yourself blocks of time to have uninterrupted, focused work. Now, this can go in a small fashion or this can go in a big fashion. So if you're working on a project or you're working on something and you're maybe you have your job and you're working your side hustle on the side, or even if you're full-time side hustle and you're trying to work your side hustle amidst your life and everything else, you're probably giving yourself short snippets of time to work on things, an hour a day or 2 hours a day. But you're trying to position that focus time right in the middle of your environment that's got all these distractions that can easily come at you and disrupt you. So a couple ways to go about this that might just be very simple. One of the things that I do if I'm in the middle of trying to work on a project and I'm finding myself dealing with either external or internal distractions, because the internal distractions are a thing too. You got all this stuff that goes on up here. Like how many of y'all deal with that? Where you finally sit down to work on something and you might actually have some time to work, but you got all this noise in your head about, and I got to get this done, and I got to do that thing, and I got to make that phone call, and I got to finish that thing, but you're trying to sit here and focus. Oftentimes when I'm dealing with either external or internal distractions, is I will stop trying to force myself to work and I'll change my environment. Because changing your environment is powerful. Sometimes changing environment for me is simply just, I just need to go clear my head and just give myself some time to think, and I'll go outside and I'll go for a walk. And I don't know if anybody else ever do this where you just go take a walk. Sometimes if you take a walk and you change your environment, you give yourself something else. You give your senses something else to digest. Like if I'm sitting here trying to write, for example, if I'm trying to write content, or if I'm trying to create podcast content, or if I'm trying to write stuff for my book or whatever, if I'm hitting that wall where I've got like brain fog and I just can't seem to break through it, I'll set the pen down, I'll throw in my AirPods, grab my phone, and I'll just go out and I'll take a walk. And sometimes just going out and getting fresh air and just changing your environment will reset your mind and start getting you thinking clearly. And then if I got thoughts or things that are flowing through my mind, I'll just click on voice memo and I'll just record my thoughts while I'm walking. So a walk can be powerful. In some cases, it might just be the noise of your house. So even if you have a workspace in your house, but your kids are home and your husband's home and you got all these things going on at the house and you're like, I'm going to go work for 2 hours, and everybody kind of leaves you alone, You still got the noise in the house. So in which case, remove yourself from your environment. You might be like, I am going to work for 2 hours, but I'm going to take my laptop and my gear and I'm going to go to the library. And I'm going to go work in the library where it's quiet. Or I'm going to go to the coffee shop. Or whatever. You might go hop in your car and drive out to the lake and park in front of the lake where you have a nice peaceful environment and you just sit there at a picnic table and work, or just work in your car. But oftentimes removing yourself from the noise of your environment can help you really pick up your productivity. Going on a bigger level, this is for some of you today. I believe somebody needs to hear this today. Some of y'all need to take a day off. So if you have something that you are trying to accomplish, and maybe it's a big project and you're trying to attack that project, an hour a day or 2 hours a week, and you're just taking tiny little nibbles on that project, and you know that you need a momentum shift on that thing, take an entire day and clear your whole schedule and go away for the day. I don't know where you go. Find a place to go. You might go check yourself into a hotel and stay at a hotel overnight and do a day away from everything and give yourself uninterrupted focus time. For some of you, that may need to be a weekend. You need to take a long weekend. Take Friday off, take Monday off. Give yourself 4 days of uninterrupted, don't do anything else, and just knock that out. Some of y'all need to take a week. I did this early on in my business when I was trying to write my first book. The Lord actually prompted my wife to encourage me to write a book. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to write a book. But I had never written a book before, and I knew the only way I would ever get through it is if I gave myself focused, uninterrupted time to work. So I took an entire week off, 7 days, didn't do any streams, cleared all my client appointments, and my wife and I left, and we went up to my grandpa's cabin. He's got a log cabin that sits in the back of the woods that doesn't have Wi-Fi, doesn't have a phone, and we went out there and we stayed at the cabin for 7 days, and I wrote my whole book in 1 week because I just had that focused, uninterrupted time. So that's a variety of different examples, but I'm going to challenge you, if you are trying to get something big accomplished, you have a project you're trying to get done, but you're forcing yourself to work in environments that are constantly distracting you, I just challenge you today to look at how you're going about your work and see if there's a way that you can remove yourself from the noise and give yourself the opportunity to really get productive. There's my word, okay? That's number one. Number two is to prepare a first draft. Prepare a first draft. I think all of us struggle with procrastination at different levels, but all of us deal with it in some way. One of the number one things, I'm just going to say, the majority of what people procrastinate is the start. It's not usually the finish, because usually when you get started on something and you get rolling on something, there might be some delays through that process, but majority of what people procrastinate on is the start of the process. So people are like, this is going to be the year that I write the book, right? But then if you've never written a book before, you get going on what's the cover going to look like, and what do I put into the table of contents, and how do I write a forward, or how do I get started on that first chapter, and what are all the chapters going to be, and how am I going to wrap this thing up, and what do I put on the back cover, and how am I going to get it published, and who's going to help me with all that? And you start thinking about all the things that have to be done, and all of the things become overwhelming because you're thinking about all the things, and so you don't step into starting the project because you're thinking about all the stuff that has to be done. You're thinking about starting my business. I think this is going to be the year that I'm going to start my business, but then all the questions come in. How do I do the branding? How am I going to make money? What's my website going to look like? What services do I offer? What prices do I offer? Do I need to get headshots? Like, what's the legal stuff? How do I do my taxes? And all these questions roll in, and so you don't start. So my challenge for you is, if you're that person who has been delaying something and putting something off because of all the questions, because of all the things that you've been thinking about, and it's probably a variety of all those questions that you're asking yourself, my challenge is you to approach that project as just starting a first draft. I'm just going to start it. If you're trying to write your first ever podcast content, don't focus on making it perfect. Just focus on trying to get a first draft out. The point is to get it started, because if you can just get something started, usually you'll be able to keep yourself in motion and get yourself rolling. So give yourself a first draft, a starting point, some way to get the ball rolling, so then you can build off of that. It's the It's the, what is it, Newton's law, objects in motion stay in motion. You want to start the motion in some way. So whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, see if you can give yourself a simple first step and view it as a first draft. And the reason why I word it as a first draft is because if I tell you, I want you to write a bio for your website, and I want you to send it to me once you feel like it's perfect. What'll happen if I tell you I want you to write a bio for your website, and I want you to send it to me once you feel like you've got it perfect, it'll take you forever to send that to me. You'll stop and you'll question and you'll delay and you'll question and you'll delay and you'll rewrite it and it'll take forever, and it'll take forever for me to get that thing. But any of y'all have ever worked for me, if I've ever told you to write a bio for your website, what do I say? I want you to write a first draft and send the first draft to me. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get some words down, get some paragraphs down, get some thoughts down, and we'll refine from there. Because once you get something down on paper, have y'all ever experienced this? Like, as soon as you start something and you get a little bit of work on it, then you can look at it and be like, all right, I like what I've got for here. I want to edit this. I want to change this. I think I'll add this. But you can build off of it, and it starts becoming easier. But if your focus is on being perfect right out of the gate, you'll stop and you'll delay and you'll wait and you'll get stuck and you'll question yourself, and then you'll rewrite it, and then you'll get it done, and you're like, I don't like it, and then you start over, and it's just, it's busy work. Busy work, wasted time. So preparing a first draft, starting small, starting with something that this is just to get it going, will help you get yourself rolling and stop being just so blatantly busy, okay? Number 3. Cheers, y'all. Number 3 is quit while you are behind. Quit while you are behind. Justin, are you serious? Yeah, that's what I mean by this. Quit while you're behind. I used to have a hard time with this until I got through my head that, you know what, I'm working against myself. Like, how many of y'all have ever tried to work through exhaustion? Anybody out there? Y'all awake this morning? How many of y'all have ever tried to work on a project through exhaustion or through desperation, where you're trying to finish something and you've delayed and you've pushed yourself, and so you're like, you know, you've worked a full day or full week, and you're trying to put some hours in to get something done, and you are absolutely exhausted, and you're trying to work through the exhaustion. When you get to that point where you are overwhelmed and frustrated and exhausted, and it's all hours of the night, stop the work, get some rest, reset, and come back and visit it in the morning. Because I've done this before, where I have been like trying to grind on a project. But what happens is, if you are trying to work through exhaustion, the quality of your work drops significantly. The likelihood of you making mistakes rises significantly. And then on top of that, you're never able to refresh and recharge yourself. So even if you do try to work through exhaustion, eventually you're going to crash. And so if you are working yourself, you've given yourself a deadline, or you have a project you're trying to complete and it's all hours of the night, but you're completely exhausted, you will be better served to stop working, even though you need to get it done. Stop working, put the work aside, go to bed, get some rest, take a shower, drink some water, get something to eat, and then come back in the morning and pick up where you left off. Even if you have to make a phone call to somebody, be like, I'm so sorry, this can be a little bit late. That's gonna better serve you than trying to kill yourself overnight. Because what'll most likely happen is, if you attempt to work through exhaustion, you're going to probably make a mistake. And then if you do get a couple hours sleep, you're gonna wake up in the morning, look back at the work that you did, and more than likely you're probably gonna have to go back and redo it, because it wasn't the quality that it needed to be. So if you get to that point where you're attempting to work through exhaustion, stop trying to push yourself to a point of crashing. Stop, take a break, revisit it, get some rest. All right? Quit while you're behind is number 3. Number 4 is give yourself deadlines. How many of y'all like having deadlines? Most people don't like having deadlines, but listen to me. Deadlines are powerful, because as a business owner, if you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, what happens is, I see so many people that have dealt with this over the years, of people that I've worked with, where they give themselves vague commitments every day. I'm going to my goal today is to write a blog and get it posted on the website. Okay. That might seem like a reasonable. If your goal today is to write a blog and get it posted on the website, that might seem like a reasonable goal. But this is the thing. If that is the only assignment that you give yourself today, guess how long it'll take you to write that blog and post it on the website? All day. Why? Because tasks expand to the time allotted. Put that in the chat if you're taking notes and write that down. Tasks expand to the time allotted. If you give yourself the whole day to write a blog post and post it on the website, it'll take the whole freaking day. And you'll waste your whole day trying to do that one stupid little task where realistically it should only take you probably 2 hours to write the blog, maybe 30 minutes to edit it, do the SEO, and another 30 minutes to get it posted on the website. So realistically, it should take you 3 hours. Give yourself 3.5 for a little buffer. So let's say, you know what? I'm going to give myself 2 hours this morning from 10 to noon to get the blog post content written. I'm going to have lunch. I'm going to do my workout. I'm going to take a break. And then I'm going to come back at 1. And from 1, I'm going to do the editing and the posting. I'll have it done by 2. Give yourself a deadline, because if you give yourself that deadline, guess what? You'll most likely get it done within that time. And then look at how much day you have left over. Then you're done with that project by 2 o'clock and you got your entire afternoon to work on something else, to get something else done. Don't be so flippant or so vague that when you have projects to get done in a day where you're just like, well, I'm just going to do this today. Fine if you want to do that today, but whatever your project is, whatever your priority is, give yourself a time frame and a deadline for when you're going to get it done. And then challenge yourself to improve that work pace, right? So maybe you're posting 1 blog a week. So this week, let's see if we can get that blog done in 3 hours. 2 hours to write, 30 minutes to edit, 30 minutes to post. Let's do it in 3 hours. Next week, let's see if you can do it in 2.5. Let's see if I can get a blog written in an hour and a half. 30 minutes to edit, 30 minutes to post. So now I'm 2.5 hours. Let's see if we can tighten that down to 2 hours and get that process done in 2 hours and work on refining it. But I guarantee you, if you give yourself some deadlines to follow and you hold yourself accountable to those deadlines, it will improve the pace and the productivity of what you're able to get done. And then you realize, you know what? If I work within the front time frame of these deadlines, I can give myself some more things to accomplish because I've structured my day. Tasks expand to the time allotted. Tony, what's up, man? Good morning to you, buddy. Sylvia, I see you. Good morning to you as well, all right? That's number 4. Number 5, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one because I haven't beaten this one up lately, but I am going to hit it a little bit tonight or today, is to plan your day the night before. Somebody's already arguing with me in your mind. Plan your stinking day the night before. I'm going to give you 2 simple things. I'm not going to go a ton into this, but I'm going to give you 2 simple things. Give yourself 30 minutes at the end of every single day to just sit down and look at what needs to be accomplished tomorrow. What are your priorities? What do you need to get done tomorrow? And if you're like, if you struggle to define what your priorities are, like you struggle to define what you actually need to get done tomorrow, use Brian Tracy's rule of 3. The rule of 3 is, if I could only do one thing tomorrow, what would that be? One thing. If you could only accomplish one thing in your entire day tomorrow, what would that one thing be? Write that down. That's the one thing I'm going to do. All right, how long is that going to take me? Give it a deadline. That's going to take me X number of hours. This is when I'm going to do it. Establish that. Then, all right, if I could do 2 things tomorrow, what would the second one be? All right, the second one would be this. How long is that going to take? Where am I going to put it on my schedule? And then if I could accomplish 3 things tomorrow, where would the third one be? All right, so the rule of 3 doesn't mean that you have to do 3 things. Just means, the way I look at it is, you should not have more than 3 priorities in a day. Because if you have 2-3 priorities today, you have priorities. If you have 13 priorities today, you have a mess. There's no way that you can structure a day around that many priorities. And the idea of the rule of 3 is, if you do have 3 priorities, that's fine. But the second and third priority do not happen before the first one. The first one is always done first. You get that done first. Then if you have more time, then you do the second, then you do the third. So going back to planning your day the night before, take 30 minutes, think about tomorrow. What are your priorities for tomorrow? How long are they going to take? When are you going to get them done? Is there anything that you can prepare? Are there notes that you need to print out? If it's a client that you're going to be talking to, do you have a folder that you need to get out? Do you need to refresh yourself on a conversation? Do you need to print anything? Do you need to prepare anything? Do you need to pull up emails? Whatever. Get yourself ready. Get your notes ready. If you're going to do content tomorrow, Joanne, good afternoon to you. If you're going to do content tomorrow or podcast tomorrow, print out your notes. You know, every day when I do live streams, the day before, I always have my notes printed out. I have my images printed up. I have my text set up. Everything's ready to go. Get yourself completely ready for tomorrow. All right. So 30 minutes. I take 30 minutes, and I do a lot of preparation. 30 minutes is all it takes, and I'm getting myself fully ready. That's the first thing. All right. The second thing is I challenge you with this. Is at the end of the day, right before you go to bed, just before you start your evening routine of going to bed, go down and sit in wherever your workspace is and just sit at your workspace for a second and just look over everything that you prepared for tomorrow. I'm going to think about this is what I do every night. I'm going to take a look real quick at my notes for tomorrow, the content that I'm going to do in the morning. I'm just going to look through my key points and just think about that broadcast for a second. I'm going to look at the client folders of who the people that I'm going to be coaching for tomorrow. If there's a web design project or graphics that I'm creating, I'm going to look at those things and just take a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and just look over everything that I'm going to be doing tomorrow to program my mind. All right, and the reason for this is because we only use 10% of our brains. And being that we only use 10% of our brains, 90% is subconscious. So what I do before I go to bed is I program my subconscious. Basically what I'm doing is I'm giving my subconscious a set of instructions of what I want it to think about and work on while I'm sleeping. And because whatever you input at the end of your day is what your mind is going to be thinking about while you're sleeping. Like you ever watch a certain TV show or see something on social media or have a conversation or something late at night and then you go to sleep, and what happens? Your dreams are influenced significantly by what was inputted last in your day or what was most significant about your day. So what I want to do is I want to do my best job to program my subconscious with what I need it to be thinking about and working on while I'm sleeping. And when you wake up, you will have such clarity about your day. Like, I don't wake up with brain fog. I wake up in the morning crystal clear on exactly what I need to accomplish today, what I'm talking about. It gives me fresh ideas. Like, oftentimes my best and biggest ideas come to me first thing in the morning. And I love it. It's awesome. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk to so-and-so about that thing. And I'll wake up with ideas. And I'm fresh and fired up to bring you the content that I have to share in the morning. Oftentimes, I'll rewrite some of my points in the morning because I have fresh ideas. But programming your subconscious is powerful, and it will improve your productivity. And you won't find yourself sitting there staring at your work or wasting time getting around for stuff. Because it's stressful. It feels so good too. Like, how many of y'all can recognize the difference between being prepared and being unprepared for your day? Like, if you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I gotta get ready for that call, and I haven't printed out the notes, and where's that folder, and where's that binder, and where's those, and then the Wi-Fi isn't working or something, and it just adds all this chaos and stress to your day, and you spend so much time just being busy instead of being productive. But when you get up in the morning and you're completely prepared for your day and you have everything laid out, there's no questions, everything is completely ready to go, you can operate at maximum capacity. Not just figuratively with your things in front of you, but up here, maximum capacity, because you've programmed your mind to be prepared for your day. I dare you to try it. How many are going to try this? Like, how many of y'all are going to commit to doing this? Give me 30 days of doing this. And you can call me in 30 days and you can thank me for how much work you've gotten done. But how many of y'all are going to commit to doing this? 30 minutes to prepare everything for the next day. And then before you go to bed, sit down, look over all your stuff, and program your subconscious. And just see how much it affects how you feel going into your next day. I dare you to do it. All right? This last one's going to blow your mind. I'm not sure you're ready for it. We're talking about how to work smarter, not harder. We're talking about, are you busy or are you productive? Because there's a distinct difference between being busy and being productive. All right? Dr. Sandra, she's all over it. I love it, Dr. Sandra. It's nice to see you. Good morning to you guys. Cheers, guys. I hope your morning beverage is delicious. I'm going to give you one more. I got 6 of these today. So we've talked about, number 1, get out of the noise. Number 2, prepare a first draft. Number 3, quit while you are behind. Number 4, give yourself deadlines. Number 5, plan your day the night before. Number 6, I don't think you're ready. I need to know that you're ready. This is a lean in moment. Everybody put ready in the chat stream if you're ready to hear this one. Those guys that are listening on the podcast, if you're driving, you might need to pull over. Because you might fall out of your chair when I tell you this. You ready? How many of y'all are ready? Okay, here we go. I think I'm ready to give it to you. Number 6, last one. Pick up the phone. This thing. Did you know there's a speaker on this where you can actually talk to people? Did you know that you could actually that person that you've been spending days and hours going back and forth via email messages and text messages, you could just call them and you could just talk to them for a second and you could sort it all out. Call people. Pick up this phone and talk to humans. I'm telling you, this will save you so much time. I kind of have a general rule. Because this is what happens. People will send me an email and they'll ask me 8 questions in an email. Each question has a paragraph of its own. Like, if I get an email, if I cannot respond to an email in one paragraph, there's a 99% chance I'm calling you. Because the amount of time it's going to take me to sit and write an email and respond to all of those things, I can just talk to you. And the reason why I'm really hitting this one too is because I was having a conversation with one of my peers recently. We went out to coffee and we were talking about some stuff, and they're telling me about this client that they had that they considered to be high maintenance, and this client was texting them questions all the time, and they're like, this person's taking up so much of my time. I'm like, well, what's going on with the time? They're like, well, they ask me questions all the time, so give me an example. And so they showed me a text message of a question that they asked, and it was a pretty elaborate question. And I'm like, all right, well, how'd you respond to it? And they're like, well, I had to take a second. And then when I got back to the office, I sent them an email because I hate writing long messages in text. I went back to the office and I sent them an email and I answered their questions in email. But they're like, I don't have time to be doing that all the time. I said, just call them. And they're like, well, I'm on a retainer and they only get one coaching call with me every 2 weeks. And so, if I'm calling them, then, and they're all worried about, well, how does that fit into my coaching schedule? I'm like, this is about your time. All right, so you're worried about your coaching calls, but so they send you a text message of a question and you wait and you go back to your office and you spend 45 minutes to an hour trying to perfectly write an email, whereas if you're on the road, you can just call them real quick and be like, hey, do you have 5 free minutes to chat? Yeah, I sure do. I got your question. Let's talk through it real quick. The amount of words that you can share in 30 seconds or even 30 minutes on a phone, it would take you hours to write that email. So I'm going to challenge you. If you're that person where you communicate a lot via text and via email, if you've got someone that needs your help, just call them, for Pete's sake. If you got to tell somebody something, just call them. Pick up this phone, have a conversation, save yourself some time. The other thing to do too is, I actually spent a good bit of time in the car because I have now 4.5 children, 4 of which are all in the teenage zone, and I'm running back and forth to practices and pickups and all these things. So I have a lot of windshield time. So I kind of keep a running list. If I got someone that needs my help with something, I'll note it in my phone, and I have one section in my notes app of my phone of people that need a quick phone call. And so as soon as I get in the car, I'm out, I'm driving. All right, let's call some people. And I'll take my time in the car just to call people, and I will knock out a ton of work while I'm in a 25-minute commute to go pick kids up from school. And that's hours of time that's going to save me having to sit and respond to text messages and emails later once I'm home with the kids. I can get a ton of work done sitting in the pickup line at the school. So leverage your phone. Call people when they need your help. Don't be afraid to give some people some time and just answer some questions. I'll tell you this too. It'll go a long way for your rapport because people appreciate the help, man. And I do it. I mean, my people know I serve you. I serve you at a very high level. I love y'all. I want to help y'all. And people know that if there's something we needs to get done, I'll call you and we'll sort it out. All right? Pick up the phone. That's number 6. That's your last one. 6 ways to work smarter, not harder, guys. That's what I got for you today. I love y'all and I appreciate you. I know 33 minutes of your time is so valuable. So I appreciate you spending your time with me this morning, guys. Get about your day. Be intentional with your time. Be intentional with your talent. Get about your day. Get about your goals. Holler at me if you need me for anything. And I will see you guys all around the web, right? Take care. God bless y'all. I'll see y'all later.